Tonight here from Angel Stadium, the rain has tapered off. That's the good news. And you think back to last year, the last game of the season, these two teams met against each other. Angels needed a win to force a play-in game to get into the postseason. Of course, the Rangers won. The Rangers won the division, and they got into the playoffs. And that rivalry renews here tonight for the first time in Anaheim. Hi, everyone. Welcome officially to the broadcast booth. He's Eric Karros, and I'm Kevin Burkhardt. So, yeah, these two teams are indeed rivals, EK, but there is some serious star power on the field tonight.
There really is. I mean, you look at the last decade, you're talking about one of the greatest players in Albert Pujols. And then, of course, this decade, Mike Trout. He's finished second in the MVP 3 of the last 4 years. And at the time he didn't finish second, he was first. And then on the flip side, we go to the Texas Rangers, and you got Adrian Beltre over at third base. He is a future Hall of Famer, over 400 home runs. And remember, this Texas Ranger ball club, they won the American League West last year, and they're looking to defend it this year.
Although not the starts that each team would like. The Rangers dropped 2 or 3 to Seattle at home, and then the Angels, well, the Cubs were in town, and that was a series they'd like to soon forget. They dropped both games to Chicago. But tonight, the opener of a series with these rivals. A couple lefties on the mound with Derek Holland going for the Rangers. It's Hector Santiago for the Angels. We've got the first pitch coming up next on FS1. Game of the year for us here on Fox and FS1. Glad to have you aboard as the opening week and these two rivals renewing, Rangers and the Angels. And there is second-year manager for Texas, Jeff Bannister. Well, he was the manager of the year because his team won 21 more games last year than they did the year before.
I had an opportunity to speak with him before the game and spent numerous times last year with him. Really a player's manager. I think he commands respect, but he earns that respect. And if you talk to any of the guys that play for him, they'd run through a wall.
I mean, when you look at what he has gone through to get here, I mean, this is his journey in baseball, which has been just about all of it with the Pittsburgh Pirates as a player, minor league manager, minor league, all kinds of
jobs there, and then getting up to the Major League field coordinator, and then with the Major League staff as bench coach with Clint Hurdle for the last few years before taking this job as Rangers manager. But this is a guy that had gone through a lot personally. I mean, had dealt with a cancer, had dealt with a serious spinal injury, and now here he is, and yeah, got this team into the playoffs last year and trying to do the same thing again. A lot of expectations for these Rangers.
Well, and you talk about perseverance. This is a guy that could have got really upset when the Pittsburgh Pirates gave that managerial job to Clint Hurdle, especially when Jeff Bannister had been an organizational guy. He waited his time. He had the opportunity last year in Texas, and with the way that team started, you thought, wow, this is going to be a long year. He was a big reason why they ended up in the playoffs.
Each of these teams off to a sour start. It's early, obviously, one series, so we'll see if they can do a little bit better tonight. Here is Jeff Bannister's lineup, and this is pretty much the go-to lineup, or what it should look like, what it's been for the most part, at least the first couple of games. DeShields leading off. You've got Beltre and Fielder with a home run in that first series. And then Desmond, an intriguing sign, which we'll go over when he comes up, former National, now playing the outfield. Angels go with 28-year-old left-hander Hector Santiago. He was an all-star last year.
They had a great first half. The second half, not really indicative of the type of pitcher that the Angels hope he will be. A lot of control issues. That's one of the things that will dictate whether or not he has an effective outing. Can he minimize his pitches? Can he stay around the plate?
And so Santiago made 32 starts last year. Will make his first one here tonight. You watched the pregame show with the guys, Chris and CJ and Frank outside. Yeah, it was raining here for a good portion of the day in Southern California. So Mike Trout loves the weather. Said, yeah, I'm not used to looking at the weather app for tonight, but the good news is that's all cleared away. Temperatures cool in the lower 60s tonight, but we are perfect to play baseball. Glad to have you along. As Delino DeShields, the leadoff man, will step in for the Rangers. He is their center fielder. Looking for his first hit, and he takes strike one from Santiago. DeShields, interesting, given the job this year in center field, fought for it last year, and it's kind of fascinating that he kind of went back and forth and took over the job from Leonis Martin, who then is with Seattle and comes back to Texas and had a good series in that first 3 games.
Well, and DeShields coming over to Texas, he was a Rule 5 guy and really exploded onto the ball club last year. They weren't counting on him, but he played his way into the lineup. Very athletic. As you mentioned, is taking that center field job.
1-2. And it's 2-2 to DeShields. One thing about the Angels, EK, and there has been already these first few games a lot of shifting on defense. You see they overload the left side against DeShields. 2-2. And the count goes full. DeShields has drawn a couple of walks. Just getting on base using that incredible speed. He stole over 100 bases in the minor leagues a few years ago in the Astros system. Shin-Soo Choo on deck. 3-2 coming. And his upstairs ball 4. So Santiago, he can get bitten by the walks occasionally, and he walks the leadoff man in DeShields.
Well, and he obviously upset with himself. One of the things that Santiago worked on this spring was the control, was attacking hitters. First pitch to DeShields, first pitch strike, but then unable to finish him off. Ended up walking him.
So now he'll have to pay attention to Delino DeShields. Giovanni Soto gets the call behind the plate tonight for the Angels, making his first start of the year. He's thrown out 24% of the base runners in his career, so not a great number. Santiago will have to keep DeShields close. Mentioned the stolen bases, EK. 101 steals in 135 games in 2012. That's
not afraid to use his speed. And what that does is that just disrupts the defense. It disrupts the pitcher's pace, his timing, the pitches that are called.
Right side, chance for two, bad flip, and everybody's going to be safe.
Well, and see, this is where you get into the people that aren't advocates of the shift. You've got Yunel Escobar, the third baseman, moving over to second base. Now he's making a flip like a second baseman would, except he doesn't play second base. Bad flip. Now you've got runners on first and second. And if you're playing straight up with your second baseman, Johnny Giavotella, in his normal position, that's a routine double play. And how does that impact everybody? Well, you've got runners on first and second now, and I can guarantee you Santiago is sitting on the mound going, you've got to be kidding me.
So a walk and an error, and not exactly the starts that the Angels were hoping for, as Adrian Beltre steps up to the plate. And he takes over for strike number one. Beltre off to a good start. He's 3 of 10 with an RBI on the year. What a career for Beltre. 37th birthday is today, so happy birthday, Adrian. And he gets a piece upstairs, and he's in an 0-2 hole. Santiago will strike you out. He last year averaged 8.1 strikeouts per nine. A big time fly ball pitcher, though. Throws just about everything, including a screwball every once in a while.
Well, again, you notice the Angels defense, they are in a shift. We've seen our third hitter of the game, and not at one time are they playing straight up.
0-2 to Beltre, and quick look at DeShields back at second, but he's back in there. The Rangers' problems in the first series was primarily their bullpen, which expected to be one of their strengths. They won the opening game of the season with just one hit, a rarity, and then they lost the next two. An early chance here in the first with Beltre in an 0-2 hole. And he goes down on strikes as Santiago paints the inside corner, and there's one down.
Well, you see Soto at least giving the indication he wants a pitch up out of the zone, and this one really right down the middle. And as a hitter, you're not expecting that good of a pitch on an 0-2 count. Surprises Beltre.
So the birthday boy goes down looking, and now we'll get a look at Prince Fielder.
And you'll never guess, Kevin, we're in a shift again.
Man.
Escobar moves over from third base to the second base position.
They've got Andrelton Simmons, a shortstop, the only one there on that left side. Santiago gets the corner for a strike. One thing about this formation, this alignment, EK, this is exactly what happened against the Mariners the other day in that first game of the series. Fielder had a little can of corn to shallow left, but because everyone was shifted, it dropped in. And that was part of a rally, even though it was their only hit that day against King Felix.
Well, and one of the things this also does is Simmons has to be aware of the possibility of DeShields stealing third base. So he's got to shade more to third. So he's got that to worry about. He's also got to be cognizant that he's got the whole left side of the infield. I mean, the shifting, it almost sometimes creates more problems than it solves.
Another quick look at DeShields. Santiago walked DeShields to lead it off, and then an error on Escobar and a bad flip. Should have been a double play ball, so technically this inning should be over. And call the balk. The Santiago paying so much attention to DeShields with his great speed, and it costs him, and now the runners move up to second and third.
So this is where DeShields' speed obviously impacts Santiago, but there's also that element of we've got to keep him close because Simmons on this shift right now, he's playing further off the bag at third than a normal third baseman who is positioned in the correct spot, the ordinary spot would be. I mean, now you still got the shift. Simmons has got to worry a little bit about DeShields. I mean, it's just all of these things, it's new to the game. And these are all things that are worked on. I mean, in fact, there's booklets of how you position players, who's got what, where do you go. You've got to relearn the defensive positioning.
Fielder's looking at a couple of RBIs if he could get a hit off of Santiago here. We're in the first inning in Anaheim. And Fielder hits this one deep left field. Gentry playable. This will score to Shields with his speed. And Gentry will make the throw in a third. But a sac fly from Prince Fielder. And the Rangers in front 1-0.
Well, we talk about the shift and how it impacts all of the defensive players. Watch Andrelton Simmons. He's over at third right now. He's got to move off to get into what would normally be a shortstop position. But all of these things just are added variables to your initial responsibility, which is just to be out there and fielding the ball. We are at our 5th hitter right now. We're in another shift.
This is Ian Desmond. And Desmond takes low and inside for ball 1. Yeah, they shifted every hitter so far, every single hitter. And this is a little different than Angels baseball that you've seen in the past, not necessarily to this extreme, but this is the way the game has gone really the last 3 years with these shifts. You know, I think about EK is how about the pitcher? I mean, here's Santiago. Yeah, he walked the leadoff batter, but he got a double play ball. I mean, this inning should be over. He's a little discombobulated from everything that's been going on here.
Well, and that's the thing. There are some clubs that will ask the pitcher, that day's starting pitcher.
2-0, and Desmond rocks one right to short. And there you go. That'll do it for the inning. So Santiago limits the damage. Rangers put a run on the board, and now the Angels come to bat. First inning without a single hit. That's they're getting good at this. They get scoring runs without hits. They did it in the opener against Seattle. A sac fly from Prince Fielder, and now it's the Angels' turn. It's Yunel Escobar swinging at the first pitch, and this one carrying foul as Derek Holland getting the start for Texas. More on him in a moment. Here is the lineup for Mike Scioscia's crew tonight. Escobar coming over from the Nationals and a trade, and he's leading off for this team. So it's a new top of the order, but of course the big guns in the middle with Trout third and Pujols cleaning up, a couple of 40 home run guys. And guys that become real important are those hitters around the dynamic duo. Tonight we've got C.J. Cron. Usually it's Cole Calhoun. The two guys ahead of Mike Trout as well, Simmons and Gentry. Hammered foul. And so it's 1-2. So Derek Holland getting the start for Texas tonight. 29 years old, and he's just had injury issues. He's only made 15 starts the last 2 years. As Escobar fouls off another. You know, and last year when he came back, he just wasn't right. I mean, he 4-3 with a 4.91 ERA. You know, it's kind of a tough deal for him. He was hurt as it was in the offseason. Then he comes back on the first start of the year. His velocity's way down. Ends up that he tore a muscle behind his shoulder. He's out till August.
Yeah, obviously the last couple of years has been battling the injury bug, but very effective. I think he's really the key for this Rangers ball club this year, because if he can get back to the level that he had been previous to his injuries, you know, he can be a top of the rotation guy.
Well, you see the injuries have been his biggest thing. Escobar goes around too far, and a strikeout for Holland to start it off here in the bottom of the first inning.
And this at bat, Holland is continuing to pound Escobar in, whether it's with the fastball or the off speed in that situation. You know, and that's one of the things, that's his strength. That's what he needs to do. When he starts to try to quote unquote pitch, I'm going to work away, I'm going to do some, that's where he gets himself into trouble. Just stay with your strength.
Craig Gentry is now the batter, and he takes for strike one. You know, you talk about that Angels lineup, and they're a little different here. You know, last year they had Cole Calhoun up there in front. Mike Scioscia told us, you know, he really needed some protection behind Trout and Pujols as a swing and a miss. So Crone and Calhoun now behind those guys, and with the new top two, which is Escobar leading off, and a platoon in left field of Gentry against lefties and Daniel Nava, the ex-Red Sox, against the righties. So the new look Angels lineup's been quiet in the first two games, just a run. But you know, they also had to face Arrieta and Lester, as there's Nava with a hoodie on. So I don't know how you judge that when those two guys pitched pretty well. I watched those games.
No, they really did. The thing about it, though, is Mike Scioscia mentioned, you're still going to have to manufacture some runs, or at least get into an offensive situation against the exceptional pitchers. You don't just get to take nights off. Again, it's the beginning of the year, but you'd like to see a little semblance of production.
Right. Gentry 1 for 4 in the young season with an RBI. 2-2, and he hits this one to right. Shin-Soo Choo, 2 down. And now we get a look at Mike Trout with 2 down and the bases empty. Trout looking for his first hit. Angels fans in a panic. He's 0 for 8 with 3 strikeouts so far.
Guy's overrated, right?
Even though it's only been 2 games, both he and Albert Pujols haven't been on base in those 2 games. So clearly that's going to change. It has to change for the Angels. Trout, another amazing year last year. 41 home runs, a career high. And DK pointed out in the open, MVP second 3 times, 1 MVP win. The guy's been just incredible as a fastball upstairs. And yeah, he's 24 years old.
And you have to watch this at bat. Holland has to stay away from going down and in with a fastball. If he does, Trout will absolutely annihilate him. Really more like a left-handed hitter in the respect that he likes to pitch down. If you're going to go in, you got to go in up high.
Moves Trout a little bit there. I like Mike's interview pregame with our Ken Rosenthal, who we'll see in just a little bit. He's a big weather guy, so he was giving us the lowdown. He's been known to jump out of his house in Jersey to jump into a storm.
You can get some weather in Jersey.
This was considered stormy for Southern California today. A little drizzle.
Well, the traffic we had driving out here wasn't.
It's very true. 3-1 now to Trout with Albert Pujols looming on deck.
I'd stay inside off of the plate. If you walk him, you walk him.
Trout hits it hard, and it gets through, and there is the first base hit of the year for Mike Trout.
You see Holland went away. You see Mike Trout asking for the ball. Joe can't say that's great. But you see this pitch out over the plate, and that's not where Derek Holland is going to be successful. I understand it's a 3-1 pitch, but in effect he got away with one right there. You see Trout driving it through the shift. And of course, what do? You ask for the ball.
That's pretty good. So here's Pujols now. Albert at 36 years old, fifth year in Los Angeles. Believe it or not, fifth year already after signing a 10-year, $240 million deal. And Holland comes inside and high. It's ball one. Pujols last year, 40 home runs. First time he's done that since 2010. Average dipped a little bit, but I like those 40 home runs.
Yeah, no question. The production is still there. Is he the same player he was? Absolutely not.
And he launches this one line drive to left. It's foul.
You know, I think we became so spoiled as fans of this ball game. You know, automatically the numbers that he would put up, the presence, you know, what he was as a player. You know, the standard he set for himself. Again, at one period, the greatest right-handed hitter in the game.
Small lead for Trout. And the pitch is low. Pujols has seen Derek Holland a lot. He's 8 for 23 with 3 home runs against him. It's a .348 average in his career.
Again, Derek Holland has to continue to pitch to his strength regardless of who's at the plate, and that is in.
2-1. And Pujols fooled, goes around, count evens at 2. Good matchup here. See Odor almost behind second base. The Sesame Street word of the day is shift so far here today. 2-2 to Pujols. Not much of a lead at first for Mike Trout. And Holland will give a check with me throw over there, but Trout wasn't even thinking about going with Albert at the dish. Pitch, and it's down low. Count goes full to Pujols. That's C.J. Cron, powerful first baseman for the Angels, waiting on deck.
Now, if you're Derek Holland, you're still trying to make a pitcher's pitch and start over with C.J. Cron, but what you don't want to do is just throw a strike out over the plate.
And Pujols rips it. Great play by Beltre, and the throw retires Pujols. Man, what a play. Beltre's done that a time or two before, and he takes away a potential base hit. What a glove, and Beltre's Rangers up 1 after 1. 1-0 Rangers. We start the second. Mitch Moreland leads it off against Hector Santiago, and he takes a fastball upstairs for ball one. Mitch Moreland, probably his best offensive season last year. 23 home runs, 85 RBIs. Manning first base, and he takes another heater inside. So 2-0 to Moreland.
You know, I'm not even sure. I'm looking at the defense again that I want to call this a shift, because it's been the same defense just about every hitter. You know, they've been in some sort of not normal orientation.
And there's a strike. So all fastballs to Moreland thus far in this at bat. Mitch 1 for 7 with a double in the first few games of the season. And it's 2-2. And you're right, and they have moved. Now look, Escobar has played, you know, plenty of middle infield, second base, but he's the one that goes from third to the middle of that shift. He's in the outfield right now in shallow right, and Giovitello moves over behind the bag. There's Escobar. There's a lot of moving parts, and Moreland goes down on strikes. 94 from Hector Santiago. Third member of our broadcast team tonight is Ken Rosenthal. And Ken, one thing about this Angels team, they've got a new GM in Billy Epler, and the biggest thing they had to do is try and find somebody to play left field.
Right, and they really didn't do that, Kevin, at least in a big way. They didn't sign Yoenis Cespedes. They didn't sign Justin Upton. They went for the combination of Craig Gentry and Daniel Nava, paid them a combined $2.375 million. That is less than 1/10 the Mets will pay Cespedes this offseason. Arnie Moreno, the owner of the Angels, did not want to exceed the luxury tax threshold. You can understand that, but at the same time, it raises the question, hey, these are Mike Trout's best years. Are the Angels wasting them?
No, it's a fair point. I mean, you know, Kenny, they used 12 different left fielders last year. 12. I mean, that's a franchise record. It was tied for most in the league, ironically, with the Rangers. And, you know, I think when you look at it, you know, Epler comes in and, you know, he looks at that and he addressed it as Kenny said. And then he goes and makes a trade for Andrelton Simmons. I think, Ken, too, the other thing with this Angels squad is when you're looking down the road to the middle of the season, they have a farm system that many rank near the bottom of the league. So there's not necessarily a lot of ammunition on the way either, as Odor takes a strike. So it's 2-2 to Rougned Odor. There's one other caveat to this. Odor, Giovitella. Oh, long throw, but it got there. Odor retired, and there's 2 down.
So far in this early part of the season, Giovitella has made some nice defensive plays. And if you remember last year, not known for his defensive capabilities, more so for his bat. But it's been chronicled. He's spent a lot of time this winter. You see Santiago always appreciates it. Giovitella spent a lot of time this winter working with former manager Ron Washington. Great infield coach in his days with the Oakland A's. He's back there again.
A couple of New Orleans guys, and the Angels have Alfredo Griffin too in that infield coach role, who's really worked with him exclusively. As a strike to Elvis Andrus. Alfredo Griffin, he could catch it in his day, that's for sure. And I guess, you know, what they say about Giovitella, when you don't have that blazing speed, you got to kind of jump, right? You got to get that quick first step, cheat a little bit, if you will.
Well, again, there's so many things that go into fielding other than just being able to pick up the ball. And one of the things is you've got to know what the pitcher's trying to do, that respective hitter. You've got to watch the plane of that bat. You've got to get a good jump. There's a way to play defense smart. And again, you field with your feet. And that's by moving them.
0-2 to Andrus. 2 down. And Santiago comes inside. And so it's 1-2. Hector Santiago, the All-Star appearance last year. Rougher second half, though. But, you know, for a guy that I think was kind of, don't want to use the word tweener, but bounce back between starter, bullpen. 32 starts from him last year, and you're hoping to build and that he can get even better this year at 28 years old.
Well, again, it really a tale of two halves, as you see right there, especially with the ERA. But there's something to be said, about the endurance, the long season. But again, with what the Angels saw the first half of last year, with what they saw in spring training, coming into this year, easily one of the top 3 in their rotation.
Trying for a 1-2-3 inning. 1-2 to Andrews. One more time inside, and it's 2-2. Well, this is a guy who told you he'll strike you out, but only Chris Young has allowed fewer ground balls the last 2 years in Santiago, I should say. And with that, he'll give up some home runs, 29 of them last year, 5th most in the league. And now Andrews done a nice job to work this count full. Fouling off a few pitches. This will be the 8th pitch of the at bat coming to the Rangers shortstop. 2 of 6 on the young season with an RBI. 3-2.
Well, if anything, the pitch count is elevated. We're close to 40 pitches, 35 to be exact. Haven't even got through 2.
9th pitch of this at bat, and he walks him. Well, Andrews did a great job fouling off working pitches and drawing a 2-out walk. Keys to the game tonight are brought to you by Ford. EK, what you got?
Well, I'm waiting for him to show up on the screen, and there they are. Texas put the ball in play. They had a rough stretch in Seattle, struck out a number of times against Seattle, I should say. And then the LA Angels, they need to pitch efficiently, and that's something that Santiago right now is not doing. Again, he's got to minimize the pitches. When he's throwing a lot of pitches to each hitter, it allows them to see the ball better. It allows their teammates to see the ball. It allows the defense is standing around out there. There's something to be said about the pitcher setting the pace, throwing strikes. Early on, Santiago hasn't been able to find the plate.
25 steals for Elvis Andrews, who leads off of first base here with Chirinos, the catcher, the 9th place hitter. So Santiago will play some close attention to Elvis over there.
Shoot, we got to get a shot of the defense right now. They're playing pretty much straight up. We haven't seen that all game long yet from the Angels, and that's conventional baseball right there, huh?
Might not see it again. Taking too long, so Chirinos will step out. And again, a look over to first base. Chirinos is interesting. This is a guy last year, 54 hits, 27 of them were for extra bases. So when he did make contact, a lot of them were big time hits. Doesn't look like Andrews too confident getting a lead against Santiago, though. Finally a pitch to Chirinos, and it's 1-0 to the Rangers catcher.
Well, and if you're Andrews over at first base, you are not going unless it's 100%, because at the very least, if Chirinos does make an out, you've got DeShields leading off the next inning. You do not want Chirinos leading off the inning.
Strike, 1-1.
Well, the Angels have shifted now. Giovitella playing on the left side of the infield. Now he's looking in the dugout, trying to figure out where he goes. I mean, they're shifting from pitch to pitch, depending upon the count.
(1-1), and he got him go upstairs and chase at 92. So Chirinos in a 1-2 hole. Santiago about to throw his 40th pitch. We're only here in the second inning. Now, he didn't get helped by his defense, had an error in the first which prolonged that, but this could have been a 1-2-3 inning until A 9-pitch at bat to Andrews.
Well, and interesting, that error, Yunel Escobar, the third baseman, had shifted over to the second base spot, unable to make the flip.
And they got him. Pickoff move. Andrews going to second. Now the rundown. Santiago, Simmons will use that speed to get him down. Took a while, but they get Andrews on the caught stealing, and that will end the inning. Bottom 2 we go. It's 1-0 Texas. Anaheim. It's 1-0 Rangers over the Angels. First game of this series, first meeting of these two rivals here this year. And C.J. Cron will lead it off against Eric Holland. He takes outside for ball one. C.J. Cron is a very large human being, and he's got some big time power. 26 years old, former first-round pick back in 2011. Holland inside, 2-0. This is a guy that's hit in 627 major league at bats, 27 home runs. Now the flip side of that is his on base percentage is only 29% in that time, so he's still developing. I think now the question will be, what can he become? There's a strike.
Well, if you look back at what he did last year, really struggled the first part of the season. You take a look at those numbers right there. Hit 204, only one home run in 35 games. And if you'd seen him, you'd say, wow. Just like you say, wow, to that pop-up right there. But what is it? It's a pop-up.
That was up there. But finish your thoughts.
So he goes down to AAA, and he finds himself. Now, whether that was a mechanical adjustment, mental approach, just starting to feel better about yourself and getting some confidence, he came up, and you look at that, 15 home runs in 78 games, 285. So that's what the Angels hope. But what is he? You know, you can't just discount that 204 because he did do that. You know, and a lot of his fans will say, well, when he came back, he was this. But remember, that first part of the season still counts.
This is the other guy. When we talked with Mike Scioscia earlier, he said, hey, you know you got Trout and you got Pujols, but give me another really important guy. And he signaled out Cole Calhoun, who really broke out last year. I mean, Calhoun at 28 years old, career best in home runs, career best in RBIs. Oh, and he won a Gold Glove in right field, but now moved down in the order this year, a little different.
Well, he's the guy for me because when you face right-handed pitching, he's going to be that fifth hitter. And he's coming in from the left side. He's had some confidence. He had a nice season last year, but he's been anywhere. Remember, last year he hit ahead of Trout. You know, now he's going to be hitting behind those two. And he's the guy right here. This will be the key to the Angels offense. How Cole Calhoun is able to support those guys in the middle.
Tonight, batting in the 6th hole, as you said, with the lefty out there. With righties, he will bat 5th, and Crone, they'll flip-flop there. 26 home runs last year. There's a strike, and it's 2-2 to Cole Calhoun. Hollins 2-2, and he got him. 94 for Derek Holland, and that's a welcome sight for a guy who had questions about his velocity in the spring training.
Well, so far so good early on. He's been working inside. He's been working really that one side of the plate. You know, inside to the right-handed hitters, outside here to Calhoun. And what he had done is he'd gotten Calhoun concerned about that inside pitch. So you're thinking about that as a hitter. Opened up the outside. Calhoun unable to catch up.
So Hollins retired the first 2. Here's Andrelton Simmons now. The new Angel, of course, if you're a fan, you've seen him the first 2 games. But nationally, you're like, wait a second. Andrelton Simmons, the former Brave, traded in the offseason here to be the Angels shortstop. And he's great defensively. Now we'll see if he can hit. There, a tapper to short in the long throw. Andrews does it. 1-2-3 inning for Derek Holland. Rangers 1, Angels nothing after 2. Top of the 3rd from Angel Stadium, along with Ken Rosenthal and Eric Karros. I'm Kevin Burkhardt. Glad to have you aboard tonight. Our inaugural game of the season on Fox and FS1, and we've got a couple rivals in the AL West. Rangers 1, Angels nothing. Prince Fielder with a sac fly in the 1st, and the 9-hitter Robinson Chirinos hits one high in the air, deep to left field. If it's fair, it's gone. It is gone. Robinson Chirinos, 2nd home run of the year for the Rangers, and it's 2-zip Texas.
Well, Chirinos jumps on the first pitch. Now remember, this is really his 2nd at bat of the game. He was up the prior inning. Elvis Andrus ends up getting picked off of first base, but he saw a couple of pitches. So he's up there right now. He's not having to see Santiago or gauge him. He's already there. Jumps on a fastball that is out over the plate.
I told you basically half of his hits last year were extra base hits, so he's got that ability with the power, and he delivers his first of the year. Back to the top of the order, and Delino DeShields, and there's a strike. 1-1 to the center fielder who walked, moved to second on an error, moved to third on a balk, and then came around to score on a sac fly from Prince Fielder. Just your normal run of the mill run. Tries to bunt that time.
Well, again, that's one of the aspects of speed, and that's why Delino DeShields has earned an opportunity to play at the big league level. It's something that creates a lot of havoc, not just when you're on the base paths, but because you're a threat.
And he's punched out here. So Santiago delivers his third strikeout and the first out of the third.
An excellent pitch down and away right at the knees. Santiago gets the call.
Chu reached on the error on Escobar in the first, and he takes away for ball one. Chu actually had a pretty good year last year after it looked like his early tenure in Texas was a bust. But he came back and he shatters his bat here. Trout on his horse, good speed, gets there and records the second out of the inning. Coming up now, the birthday boy. Coming up for us, what's good out of Ken Rosenthal?
Well, Kevin, the Rangers actually sang happy birthday to Adrian Beltre in their clubhouse before the game, and they even presented him with a cake to celebrate number 37. I asked their manager, Jeff Bannister, in this age of advanced nutrition, cake? And he said, hey, don't you remember when you were a kid and you had sugar before a game?
It did work as a kid, didn't it? You know what? It still works. Eric Karros actually had, a whole plethora of things for this game.
No, I'm telling you though, honestly, the nutritional aspect has completely changed, because
Really
I remember
has.
playing games, Sunday morning, I'd waffles and donuts, and then go out and play.
Burn it off.
That's sacrilege now.
Did you have any kale smoothies for you lace it up at first base? No?
No such animal.
1-1 to Adrian Beltre. He's made a fine defensive play in this game, and he takes downstairs. So it's 2-1. Beltre struck out looking his first time against Santiago. Big cuts. 2-2. .50 pitches already in the third. Crone giving it a look, has room, makes the catch, and the inning is over. So the leadoff home run from Chirinos. Rangers up now 2-0 over Los Angeles. Derek Holland's first pitch of the third upstairs to Giovanni Soto. And it's 1-0 to the Angels catcher tonight. 0-1 on the year. Getting his first start tonight. And trying to drop this one over Odor, but he says so there's one down. Well, we told you about Adrian Beltre at his birthday, and Kenny, the story of the birthday cake. Let's take out the Wayback Machine, his debut. Beltre in his debut, down the line's going to get a two-bagger here. And why should this be familiar to Eric Karros? Because EK, you played in the game, buddy. There you are.
Many years ago, I remember Adrian coming up, 16, 17 years old, in camp with us. And, you talk about his toughness, and that was indicated early in his career. He had a bad appendix surgery and then had to wear a colostomy bag and would still go out in spring training and take ground balls and hit while wearing that bag.
Are you serious? Wow.
No kidding.
That's unbelievable. Debuted at 19 years old. It seems like so long ago. That's the kind of career that he's had. And all the talk with Adrian Beltre has been about his contract this spring, because after this year it's up at 37. What do? Guy's a Hall of Famer. He's still performing at a Hall of Fame level. But then the Rangers are fortunate enough where they've got some young guys that they think maybe can man the corner infield. So it's not an easy call for John Daniels.
But remember, it's not only manning the third base position, but it's taking care of that clubhouse, and the example
for sure. And you look at the active leaders, Beltre 413 career home runs, and as you saw, still playing that position as well as anyone. 1-2 to Johnny Giavotella. Beltre watches on. Holland deals, and it's foul. Let's bring in Ken Rosenthal. Ken, this is not an easy call for John Daniels here.
No, you're absolutely right, Kevin. And I was talking to Beltre's agent, Scott Boras, before the game, and he made the point that Beltre is basically a player without comps. He's doing something at age 36, 37 that other guys have not done as third baseman. And in this era where we have players who are older getting basically shafted in free agency, Beltre's still producing.
Yeah, he is. That one easy for him. Giavotella is retired, and there's two down. It really is interesting. And then, because you look and say, well, 37 is going to be 38 next year. But yeah, I kind of agree with Scott Boras. He is different. There's not many you could point at that you look at the production. And you talked about the story of spring training. Well, you could just go back. You don't have to go back that far. Look at last year in the playoffs. Guy's back is seizing up on him. He's all kinds of banged up. You can't take him out of the lineup. He's getting base hits against the Blue Jays. He's one of the toughest players to ever play the game.
Well, and what he means to this ball club in the clubhouse, what he means from a leadership standpoint. Not only productive at third base, but arguably probably more productive in that clubhouse.
So now it's Escobar, as Holland had a 1-2-3 second. Trying for the same here in the third. He's found a little bit of a groove as Derek Holland. Escobar hits this one high and deep, though, way back, and that is gone. Escobar said, I'll groove that out of the yard, and the Angels are on the board with a solo shot from Escobar. First homer of the year for Los Angeles.
Well, Derek Holland got him the first time through, but here Escobar sitting on that inside pitch, waiting for it. Does not miss it.
0-1 pitch, and he took it out of here in a hurry. Now it's Craig Gentry, and Gentry smokes one to center to Shields. Batter out, but he recovers. Came in initially, but that speed allowed him to recover. Angels on the board on the Escobar home run. It's 2-1 Texas. Got ourselves a ball game. 2-1 Rangers over the Angels. LA just got on the board. A long home run from Yunel Escobar, their first long ball of the season. Escobar, third baseman, who hasn't really been at third base too much tonight, EK, because he's over shifting, as he is here with Prince Fielder at the dish. And Fielder takes 2 quick strikes from Hector Santiago. Fielder with a sac fly in the first. He had a home run in the first series against the Mariners. 0-2. And that's outside. Really, for Prince, you know, it was really one of the Iron Men in this league. This guy played 162 games 4 times in his career, but he had neck surgery in 2014. Was a mess because of it for him. Only played in 42 games, but then last year 158 games, an all-star. It's just good to see him back producing at a high level. And takes that outside, and it's 2-2 to Prince. Crowd wanted that one called. Most hits he's ever had. Home runs were a little down, but so what? Plenty of production for Prince Fielder.
And that presence in the middle of the lineup, an RBI man. You hit him with Beltray.
And punched out, though, and Fielder doesn't like it.
Well, he doesn't like it because the previous pitch was not as far out as that one. And in the previous pitch, it was called a ball. This thing well off the plate. Yeah, and you can see what Soto bringing it back a little bit. And see, this is what he's complaining about. The previous pitch was a better pitch than that one.
Quinn Wolcott is our home plate umpire today. He's 29 years old. Been known to have a big strike zone at times, and that one may have missed. But Santiago finally throws a first pitch strike. He'd only had a first pitch strike to 5 of the first 13 batters, as Desmond calls late time there. We were talking earlier about the Angels left field and Billy Epler, their GM, not really going with the big names at all to fill that spot. And then here's the Rangers. They've had similar left field issues trying to find someone to fill that position. Obviously, Josh Hamilton has had plenty of injuries since coming back here. So Ian Desmond, who turned down a huge contract with the Nationals, eventually comes to this point and says, yeah, I'll come play left field for you, but for $8 million. So playing a new position for a lot less money. And he just pokes one the other way. Right to Crone, over to Santiago. And there's 2 away. This week only, T-Mobile customers can get a free season-long subscription to MLB TV. Go to T-Mobile.com/MLB to sign up and catch every moment on America's fastest-growing LTE network. But the Desmond thing is fascinating for both parties. Rangers taking a chance, and so is he, really.
Well, again, he's just looking to play, and this afforded him the best opportunity to be out there every day. What he did do, which was interesting, he wanted to make sure Elvis Andrus knew that he was coming here to play the outfield, not to be concerned. The shortstop position is not something that he aspired to play. But as good as an athlete as he is, you know, the integrity, the way he handles things, Jeff Bannister telling us great. You look at that shortstop, 889 starts there.
Yeah, the start in center field, that came yesterday.
Yeah.
So first time Jeff Bannister threw him out there. You're right, he is so athletic, and he's got plenty of power. A little change of scenery will do him good. You know, that turned down that big money, and a lot of people felt like he just pressed all year long in Washington last year.
Well, and the thing is, too, he's learning a new position in the big leagues, and that's going to take away a little bit offensively. I really believe so. You know, he's going to be thinking about the defense, what he has to do. And you talk about pressing, I mean, he's trying to show everybody that he is a player deserving of that multi-year deal.
Huge cut for Mitch Moreland, and it's 0-2. Oh, no doubt. And Jeff Bannister even kind of admitted as much, that it might be tough in the early going until he settles in. There's Bannister in his second year. Won the division last year, and Moreland goes down from Santiago. 1-2-3 inning, 5th strikeout for Hector. 2-1 Rangers, middle of the 4th. Mike Trout leads it off against Derek Holland here in the home fourth. 2-1 Rangers over the Angels. And Trout, first base hit of the year, his first time up in the first inning. Kind of fun asking for the ball, joking around with himself after an 0-for-8 start. Takes a strike. And it's 1-1 to Trout. One and two. Think about Trout's season last year. I mean, like you can say every year go down the line and his numbers are amazing. But I think it almost kind of quietly, he struck out 26 less times. You know, the year before he felt he struck out a little bit too much. He cut that, added more home runs and less strikeouts. It's down low 2-2.
Well, I think as he gets more and more years under his belt, he's going to become a better hitter. He's going to, you know, cerebrally and his approach, those things will improve. He's gotten by on physical tools and his physical ability. But as he garners more information, more experience, he'll learn what he can and can't do. He'll learn the league, the pitchers. And I really believe that he'll be better and better as the years go by.
That's kind of scary to think about, to be honest, considering what he's already done. 2-2 from Holland here. Tries to back Trout off and the count goes full.
Well, if you're going to miss in off the plate. And that's where they're trying to go. In. Last time when he had the base hit, he left it out over the plate. Drove that ball through the infield. You see that pitch right there. Okay, it's hit hard, but it's in off the plate, and that's about the only thing that Mike Trout or any hitter can do with that ball. It's going to be a hard hit foul ball, but look where this pitch is. In, a little bit more of the plate than I thought. But you see, they just keep pounding him in, and that's what Jeff Bannister, the manager of the Rangers, alluded to earlier. Derek Holland's got to continue to pitch his game. Don't worry about the hitter. Don't worry. Just pound hitters in.
That's Doug Brocail with Bannister, the new pitching coach this year for Texas. 8th pitch of this at bat. Here we go. Right on it. Fouled it straight back. Good battle going on here. Trout has fouled 4 pitches off. Again, it's a 3-2. And he got him. Derek Holland fans Mike Trout. And that's his 3rd strikeout of the game.
Well, been going with the hard stuff in, then pulls a string, goes out of the zone with the off speed. It's Mike Trout to offer at it. It's a great job there going after Mike Trout.
It really did. Kept it in, as you pointed out, and then pulled the string there and picked up his 3rd strikeout. Now it's Pujols. Takes inside. Pujols grounded sharply to third. Beltre made a nice play on him in that first inning. Another one for Beltre. This one a little bit easier. Zips it over to first, and there's 2 down. Derek Holland, he let up the home run to Yanel Escobar. He's retired 8 of his last 9 batters, though, except for that home run. And think about this for Derek Holland, DK. When he's been given a 2-run lead like he was in this game, he's 47-4. That's pretty good.
Again, if he can establish himself as the pitcher he was a few years ago, this makes the Ranger Ball Club very competitive. He's really that swing guy. You know, Darvish coming back the next month and a half. You add him to Holland and Hamels, Martin Perez, Colby Lewis, and it's a formidable staff.
1-1 to C.J. Cron. Yeah, and they've gotten 3 quality starts so far this season for the Rangers.
There's Colby Lewis.
17 games for him last year. As Cron in a 1-2 hole. But I'm with you. I think, look, they're waiting on Darvish. That would obviously be enormous. But I think Holland's the real swing guy that could make this rotation great if he can stay healthy. 1-2, and Crone golfs one foul.
And see, there it is. That's that pitch. It's in off the plate. And while the ball is hit hard, and just as Mike Trout did earlier, it's pulled foul because it's so far in. You know, he reminds me a lot of a left-hander that had a lot of success for many years, Al Leiter. Just pounds you in. And as a hitter, you just become so aware of it, so conscious, especially as a right-hand hitter, and you're determined to get to it. You let the ego get in the way. Swing at pitches that are off the plate. Every once in a while, you'll hit one out like Escobar.
1-2, and Crone down on strikes. 4 strikeouts for Derek Holland. We're through 4, and it's 2-1 Texas. Good ball game here in Anaheim tonight. Rougned Odor swings at the first pitch from Hector Santiago. Lines out to left. 1 pitch and 1 away here in the 5th inning. And that'll bring up Elvis Andrus, who walked and was caught stealing his first time up. Santiago, pitch count has been up all night, but trying to find a little groove here. He retired the side in order in the 4th with a couple of strikeouts, and now Odor down on 1 pitch. That'll help. Here's Andrus.
Well, you see the pitch count where he's at 63, but remember, after 2 innings he was at 40.
Yes.
You know, so he has settled down. Done a nice job.
Ripped foul. Santiago actually last year had a 2.65 ERA here at Angel Stadium. That was 4th best in the American League, and there's what you alluded to, EK. 11 pitches last inning. He has settled in here, and again, that first run was unearned. So just a little bit of trouble. And now trying to give the Angels some length here.
Well, he allowed a batting average against of 227 last year, which was 6th in the American League. So it's not a comfortable at bat by any stretch.
1-2, Andrus to second. Giavotella will throw him out for the second out. Hey, make sure to tune into the premiere of The Ultimate Fighter this Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern on FS1. Khalil Roundtree and Tatiana Suarez are here. There they are. They're two of the 32 members of this upcoming season of The Ultimate Fighter. Hopefully they're enjoying the game. That is quite the swell hat. So there is that. You have a hat like that, don't you?
Look, if he can fight like that, he can wear whatever he'd like.
That's a very fair point. Robinson Chirinos, the catcher, who hit a home run, his first of the year, his last at bat in the third inning. A moon shot down left field. Hit 10 of them last year. And he takes a strike. It's 1-1. Jumped on that first pitch in that first at bat, but as you pointed out, it was kind of his second at bat. He was up forever when Andrews got finally caught stealing.
Well, you know, we go back to Santiago as you look, 69 pitches so far. You know, last year he had 6 starts where he threw 100 pitches and did not get through 6 innings. And so what that does is that taxes the bullpen. It allows actually the other team sees a lot of pitches. They get more comfortable in the box. Put your defense to sleep. And that's something that he's wanting to improve on this year.
Oh, there you go. That's a lot of pitches per inning, and so much that it was the most in the league. Strike 3 call, and all of a sudden Hector Santiago's got 6 strikeouts. Another 1-2-3 inning. It's still the Rangers up by 1. During the year in LA, it is raining. It's rained a decent amount of the day today in Southern California, and the umbrellas are open. Everybody panic. Here comes the drizzle. Good game. Rangers lead the Angels 2-1 as we head to the home fifth. Cole Calhoun will lead it off against Derek Holland. Calhoun, a strikeout victim, his first at bat in the second inning. 1 for 7 on the young season. It's outside, so 3-0 to Cole Calhoun. Derek Holland has struck out 4, has not walked a batter tonight. And There's a strike. 3-1 to Cole Calhoun. Holland is a guy that walks under 3 per game, 2.6 per game last year. And count is full on Calhoun. Well, Kenny, I know you had a chat with a meteorologist before the game, didn't you?
A self-styled meteorologist, Kevin. But there is some unrest in Angels land. Joe Smith, Angels reliever, telling me before the game, hey, if Mike Trout is so good, how come he didn't warn any of us about this coming storm? Well, Trout said he didn't know about it. Doesn't check his radar here in Southern California.
Kenny had a fun interview with Mike on the pregame show. By the way, you know, I'm still new to SoCal. I've been here a couple years. You would know. Is this a storm here? This is a storm here?
Yeah, no, that's what Kenny said. Storm. Actually, this is a storm for Southern California. This is El Nino. Supposed to be coming, right?
Full count, Calhoun inside ball 4. So Holland issues his first walk of the game, and the Angels have a leadoff runner on with Calhoun. Scott's MLB Pitch Hit and Run, the official youth skill competition of Major League Baseball. It's free for boys and girls ages 7 to 14. Play your way to the national finals and have the chance to compete during the All-Star Week in San Diego. Find a local competition in your area at pitchhitrun.com. Andrelton Simmons looking to hit. Maybe the Angels do play a little hit and run here just to get a little offense going. It's been a Mike Scioscia staple in the past. And one thing Simmons doesn't do is strike out. So he would be a good guy to do it with to get some movement. The only run, a home run from Yunel Escobar.
You know, the only thing that's tough for a right-handed hitter in this situation, facing Derek Holland to do something like a hit and run, is you constantly are going to get pounded in. Pounded in, pounded in, pounded in. And to try to shoot the ball to the right side, very difficult. You almost got to be cheating.
Showed you Ron Renicky. He's a third base coach for the Angels, former Brewers manager. 1-1 to Simmons. Calhoun not a base stealer. 4 of them last year, and he's pretty close, and Holland makes sure of it. Look over again to Calhoun. You know, Simmons is fascinating. You know, traded over here. Angels gave up 2 of their best pitching prospects to get him. 26 years old. He's as good as anybody in the field that's played the infield in a long time. A couple Gold Gloves to prove it. Question is, can he hit consistently? The Angels are banking on that he can. But this one is popped up easy for Chu. 1 down. So Simmons is retired. That'll bring up Giovanni Soto, the catcher tonight. Soto 0 for 1, popped up to second base in the second inning. Soto's been around a long time, known primarily now for his receiving skills. Not a big time thrower out of runners. Does have some pop, as you saw. 9 home runs last year as the drizzle continues to fall.
And if you're Soto right now, you're looking for something to elevate. Maybe cheat on something inside. Keep it off the ground. Stay out of the double play. But as you mentioned, this is a guy that can drive the ball. He's got gap power. Former Rookie of the Year.
Long look at Calhoun. 0-1. Missed inside. Now, you said this from the get-go. This has been a theme. Holland, he has pounded the inside portion of the plate to righties all day long. The only lefty in the Angels lineup is the guy on first base right now.
Right, and remember, Mike Trout hit that ball hard. It was out over the plate. Escobar is sitting on an inside fastball. If you're going to approach Holland right now and trying to hit against him, I'm looking for a fastball in and up as a right-handed hitter. Just going to try to turn on it, cheat a little bit. He started his off-speed stuff. He starts it on the inner half of the plate and then comes off of the plate. It's not a strike. He tries to get you to offer it.
One. Cut on and missed. 1-2 to Soto. Well, last inning Holland had, you would think, a big-time confidence building inning. A really good frame getting Trout, Pujols, and Cron with a couple strikeouts. Build on that momentum, but the leadoff walk put a little bit of a crimp into it. 1-2. Count evens against Soto with Johnny Giavotella on deck. Bannister giving the signals. Doug Brocail with the goatee, the pitching coach. Two. Just got a piece. Another look over at Cole Calhoun. Again, he's not really a threat to go. Two, just missed. And Soto has worked the count full here against Holland.
I would think that Mike Scioscia would be moving Cole Calhoun in this situation. It's not necessarily a steal. If you're over at first base, you've got to make sure that Holland is going home. Nothing.
Ball four. Derek Holland putting himself in trouble with a couple of walks. His first two of the game in this inning. And it's first and second. One out. Up comes the 9-hitter, Johnny Giavotella. How do you figure that? You have an inning like that against Trout and Pujols and a couple strikeouts and look great. And then you come out here and just a couple of walks against the bottom third of the order.
Well, the only thing that I can think that may have put him in a bit of a funk is Cole Calhoun is a left-handed hitter. He comes up to the plate. Holland facing all righties tonight. Messes him up a little bit. Ends up walking Calhoun. Gets a little frustrated. He's got to find that rhythm again.
So here's Giavotella with a chance to get this game even with a base hit. And Giavotella pops one to center field. DeShields doesn't have to move too far. Makes the catch. Calhoun going to tag, go to third. Cut off, and Calhoun gets it. So it puts runners on the corners, but now 2 out as Giavotella flies out. Crazy about that at bat by Giavotella is that Angels have had 81 plate appearances this year. Believe it or not, that was only the 8th one with a runner in scoring position. They just have not been able to generate much. In fact, the only generating of offense tonight comes via the long ball. And the guy at the plate right now, Yanel Escobar, with runners at the corner, 2 down, and a 2-1 Rangers lead here in the home 5th inning.
Well, and he's been feast or famine so far. Called out on strikes in his first at bat, homered in his last at bat. Again, if you're Holland, you're going to come inside, but come in off the plate.
And so here we go. Rip foul. This is what Escobar did in the third.
No doubter there, sitting on that inside fastball, turned on, hit it over the bullpen.
0-1 coming, and this one punched to right field. That's a base hit, and we are tied. Calhoun's going to score. Soto goes to third, and this is Yunel Escobar's night. An RBI single, and we're tied at 2.
Well, Holland trying to go inside again. You see Soto right there set up. Now, look where the glove goes. Oh, out over the middle part of the plate. Again, this inning, Holland just hasn't been able to have any type of control. He's walked 2 hitters. He missed his spots there. Credit Escobar doing a nice job not getting greedy. He's trying to shoot the ball somewhere. Look at that, the offensive juggernaut right now, huh?
Something like that.
And this team will hit. They had a great spring training. Dave Hansen, the fine hitting coach of the Angels, doing a great job this spring getting these guys to buy into the offensive approach.
And now it's Craig Gentry with a chance to put the Angels in front. Gentry 0 for 2, a couple of lineouts. And he takes inside for ball 1. Well, Mike Scioscia told us that he thinks this team is better than last year, and he thinks the lineup is better. It's a revamped top of the order. We've told you about it. Trying to set the table for Trout and Pujols, but here it's about driving in runs with Escobar, and now it's Gentry's turn. That's a strike. So the pen gets action for Texas. Tom Wilhelmsen, who had a disastrous outing in his Rangers debut the other day, the former Mariners closer, gets going. Soto on third, Escobar off first. Not great speed. And it's a strike from Holland, 1-2. One-two. Doesn't offer at the high fastball from Holland. So it's even on Gentry. Mike Trout is looming on deck.
He's been showing him the hard stuff coming in. I think he's got him set up for something off speed here.
2-2. And checked his swing. Did he go around? He did not. You called it, but he laid off.
Wow.
Well, maybe. Let's see if he laid off.
Close.
That's real close.
If I'm pitching, I want it. If I'm hitting, I didn't go.
Big pitch for Holland. 2-2 game in the 5th. Runners on the corners, 2 down, and it's a full count to Craig Gentry. The 26th pitch of the inning upcoming.
Going a fastball hard in. Go with your strength right now.
Tap down the line. Fair ball from Gentry. Soto scores. Escobar motoring to third. He'll stop there. It's an RBI double from Craig Gentry, and the Angels take the lead.
Well, Holland went to his strength. He tried to come in with that fastball, didn't get it in far enough. Got a good part of the plate right there. Gentry doing a nice job of scooting that ball down the line just past the diving Beltre.
And so the Angels have their first lead of 2016, and just as they scripted it, all 4 of their RBIs are from Yunel Escobar and Craig Gentry. But Mike Trout with a chance to change that. 2 down, 2 on. 3-2 Angels.
Looked like he crossed him up right there. You saw the way that he received that ball. Chirinos. Look at this now. Watch the way he catches this ball. He's thinking off speed right now. That's a fastball right in the palm. Not only do you go out and discuss that, you need a little time to
get the feel back in your hand.
Trout 11 for 34, 2 home runs career against Derek Holland. Strike.
Wasn't sitting on that pitch right there, but you could tell that he would have liked to have been offered at that. Slider just kind of spun up in the zone.
1-1. Again, inside and low, 2-1. All 3 Angels runs tonight coming with 2 outs. So some clutch, timely hitting for them after the offense was invisible the 2-game set against the Cubs.
And remember, all set up by 2 walks. Derek Holland.
Two and 2 to Mike Trout.
Saw him try to sneak one away and constantly pounded Trout in. Chino set up in the middle part of the plate and jumps to the outside. Got to go in with an off speed. Bounce a breaking ball.
And Trout goes down fishing. So the strikeout for Holland is a big one. Angels take the lead, though, 3-2 after 5. Wow. Hector Santiago facing Delino DeShields, 1, 2, and 3 in the order for the Rangers as we start the 6th inning. Angels putting up 2 on the board against Derek Holland to take the lead in the bottom of the 5th inning. Escobar and Gentry with RBIs there, and DeShields pops this one out of play. It's 1-1. Delino walked and scored in the 1st, struck out looking in the 3rd, and there's Holland, who, as we told you, in the 4th, as good as an inning as you can have with Trout and Pujols and Crone, 2 strikeouts, and then the walks did him in. EK.
It started with Cole Calhoun. I again mentioned Calhoun hitting from the left side, man, disrupted the rhythm a bit. Ends up walking him, gets Simmons, but then walked Soto.
Yeah.
Real important inning, though, for the Angels and Santiago. He's righted himself. He's pitched extremely well. His team's got the momentum. He faces the top of the lineup.
Down to 3rd base. Escobar plays it Over to first, and there's one away. Well, guess what? This is our first baseball game of the year, but we're not done. We're here on Saturday with a great rivalry. Dodgers and Giants. It all begins at 3:30 Eastern on America's home for baseball all season long. FS1, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Oh, by the way, there's the pitching matchup.
Yeah, I'm not sure why we had the Posey, Adrian Gonzalez up there. I'm not sure that they're going to have much of an opportunity when these two guys take the hill. Arguably the two best in the game.
That should be fun. The Dodgers had their scoreless streak stopped today. They shut out the Padres all 3 games they played them, and then they had that inning streak up to 31, and the Giants offense decided to come to play.
Well, the Giants offense, again, a little bit of a contrast in ball clubs, Padres and the Giants. Obviously the Padres not starting the way they'd like, but they are in a rebuilding mode.
1-1 to Shin-Soo Choo, who lines one and somehow finds the hole in the shift. So Choo delivers a base hit.
Well, not a lot of opportunity on that right side of the infield, but Choo hits a rope.
Santiago had retired 10 Rangers in a row until that. So the tying run is on here in the 6th inning, and here comes the meat of the order with the birthday boy Adrian Beltre, 37 years old today. Beltre 0 for 2 tonight, strikeout, and he popped up to Crone in foul territory. He takes for strike 1. Beltre. Trout has a beat on it, and he makes the catch, out number 2. So Choo retreats to first base, and up comes Prince Fielder. Beltre's got the offer on his birthday tonight. So Kenny told you before they had the cake before the game, and they were hoping Jeff Bannister and company the sugar would help Beltre. Not so much yet. Still time to go. I'd like to go back to Kenny. Kenny had that good report about the Angels left fielders, but Gentry delivering in that last inning. So Billy Epler, all smiles tonight so far. Here's Fielder. Thing about Santiago, he doesn't really care lefty or righty. His splits are pretty even just because of his arsenal.
Well, again, not a comfortable at bat either side. He's got good stuff. His secondary pitches, when he can get them over the plate, very effective.
Took something off, 78 miles an hour, and Fielder fooled. And so it's 1-1 to the Rangers DH tonight.
See the off speed right here. Fielder out front.
And it's 1-2. Santiago has struck out 6. See the pitch count at 84, but considering he threw 40 in the first 2 innings, he's really done a nice job. One-two to Fielder.
You know, and really since the Chirinos home run, only 1 base hit, and that was just to Shin-Soo Choo. Hadn't walked a guy.
Choo off of first, and the pitch just missed. Soto wanted it. Quinn Wolcott, the home plate umpire, didn't give it to him. Mike Sosa says, not quite. And so the count is full to Fielder. That'll mean Chu will be off and running here with 2 down and the 6th. Ian Desmond waiting on deck. Santiago's first 3-ball count since the 2nd inning. Back up your point. Okay. And there's strike 3. Santiago dealing now his 7th strikeout. Angels back at Angel Stadium in Anaheim. Glad to have you with us as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Ken Rosenthal is here. I'm with Eric Karros, Kevin Burkhardt, and then outside, C.J. Nitkowski waiting all by his lonesome outside. This is C.J., of course, is here with the crew. Chris Myers and Frank Thomas doing the whip around after the game. And, well, C.J., we just figured we'd make you do something other than sit and eat popcorn for the rest of the game. So let's talk Derek Collin tonight. At times you look great, and then at times, like last inning, he struggled. What did you think of his overall performance?
A little bit, but I tell you what, guys, what is exciting, I think, for the Texas Rangers was where he was from a velocity standpoint. He had admitted in spring training that his velocity was not going to be what it had been in years past, but what he liked about that was he felt like he had more command and that he was getting good sync, and I think we saw some of that tonight. Now, we know he's coming off the shoulder issue from a year ago, so fatigue, I think, is a legitimate thing that he may have to deal with this year and building up a little bit more strength, and Jeff Bannister even talked about that, another part of spring training for him, knowing he should be getting stronger as they go along. So overall, obviously not in line to win right now, but a pretty good outing here from Derek Collin.
New pitcher, though, hauling out Wilhelmsen in, facing Pujols. A big cut. And I mean a big cut. Fouls it straight back 1-1. Tom Wilhelmsen, a former Mariners closer who in his debut, probably about as bad as debut as you could possibly imagine as a relief pitcher on Tuesday. He faced 5 batters, allowed 4 hits, 2 home runs, and then was ejected after it was all said and done. So he's hoping for a little bit better here tonight against Pujols, who's 0 for 2. And it's 2-1. Dauber, a couple ground balls down to Beltre. Here's Wilhelmsen. And yeah, it's one he'd like to forget, especially with the ejection. The ERA of infinity is
Kevin's audio is really
never really a good thing.
No, and it wasn't just Wilhelmsen either. The whole bullpen really struggled. If you look at in that series, 14 hits the bullpen allowed, 11 after the 7th inning.
2-2 coming at you. EK, you got that glove? A little shy.
I don't move anymore for those.
The only thing that did move in that initial shot was about 4 plates of food, which got out of the shot. You are the quickest commercial leader I've ever seen.
Let's not get carried away. It's desserts. It's desserts. It's all desserts.
Multiple.
Yeah, it's desserts. It's not. It's
2-2. And inside. Almost hit him. 3-2 to Pujols. You see, you look here and nice and clean. There's nothing. There's some pens. What you don't see over there. A lot of stuff.
Nothing over there. All nutritional quality up here.
Just like Beltre's cake was earlier.
There you go. Little sugar, eh?
Payoff to Pujols. And Albert pops it up to left. Desmond coming on in, and he makes the catch. CJ, let's bring you back in. Wanted to watch Pujols hit there. This Rangers team, how about big picture? I know their bullpen has gotten shelled the first couple games, but we saw what they could do in the second half last year. What do you think of their overall construction of this bullpen?
I think they're in great shape. You mentioned it last year in the first half. It was an ugly bullpen. Things did not go particularly well, but it was the acquisitions of Jake Diekman, of Sam Dyson as well, that really improved the bullpen, and that's why they were ultimately able to win that division. I think this year they're going to be just as strong. Everybody wants to overreact. We have a tendency to do that the first week of the season. It has been an ugly first few days here for the Texas Rangers, but the arms are there, the experience is there. This is a championship caliber bullpen. It's not what the Yankees are going to be, it's not what the Kansas City Royals are going to be, but it's a pretty good bullpen and one that certainly can carry you in the postseason.
They have a lot of depth. CJ Cron is a hitter. Big power hitting first baseman, takes a strike. He's 0 for 2 with a strikeout so far tonight. Off speed, a little tapper, and Chirino's going to take charge and fire to first, and Cron is retired. CJ, flip side now. I know it's the Rangers pitching, but Hector Santiago, take us into his mind as a pitcher. It was kind of a weird start, error, and there's some strange things going on in 40 pitches the first 2 innings. How was he able to settle in like he's been able to do?
I tell you what, he is kind of prototypical lefty where there's always going to be some frustrating inconsistency. We saw it from him last year. The first half of the year, a great year for him, makes the All-Star team. Second half of the year, all of a sudden his command seems to elude him, and he starts letting up the long ball. Right, last year the home runs were a significant issue. So it's sometimes you have to live and die with the inconsistencies of the lefties. Not everybody can be Clayton Kershaw, but what was encouraging about him was some good velocity as well from him. We saw him 92, 93, touching 94 at times tonight. The arm looked really strong, and if this team wants to contend, they are going to need to have that first half from last year of Hector Santiago. They need him to pitch that well with what's going on with C.J. Wilson, with what's going on with Jared Weaver, and the velocity being down. Hector Santiago can suddenly become a very big part of this rotation.
You're right. He hit 94 a few times tonight. That's down low. So it's 1-1 to Cole Calhoun as Tom Wilhelmsen, already making amends from his debut, retiring the first 2 Angels.
Well, and again, he's out here. As CJ alluded to, all of these guys in this bullpen had success last year. And again, it's only 1 or 2 games. And really the only thing that impacts is your ERA. As a reliever, when you give up that first big outing, you're looking at that ERA, it's going to be whatever. You're going to have to get a ton of appearances before you can get that thing down. But it's really not indicative of how you pitch.
1-2 to Cole Calhoun with the bases empty. To center. To Shields racing in. Andrews, it falls in between them. Perfectly placed from Cole Calhoun, who's on base for the second time tonight.
Well, a good pitch. Doesn't hit it well, but finds a spot. Andrews doing a nice job of getting out there. Don't always have to hit it hard.
So here comes Andrelton Simmons. Angels tonight. 5 hits, all of them coming with 2 outs. Rangers just 2 hits. Simmons is 0 for 2. And he rips one down left field, and that's going to find a home and hit the wall. Calhoun motoring to third, and he will be held up there. And Andrelton Simmons has his first hit as an Angel. It's a double, second and third with 2 down.
Simmons does a nice job at turning on, but Gentry does a great job. Excuse me, that Desmond out there in left field. Watch this. Simmons turning on that fastball. Quick hands, shoots it down into the corner. Now watch, we talk about Desmond's athletic ability. He gets down there. Look at him play this off the wall. Bare hands it and boom, gets it right in there.
That's a guy that's never played left field. That's a guy that he's thrown out there this year, and he's looked good. And that saved a run, I think.
It really did. At least it made the third base coach, Ron Renicky, hold Calhoun.
Soto first pitch swinging, but Beltre makes the grab. We'll throw it to first, but he doesn't have to. He caught it on the fly. So Wilhelmsen does the job. Still the Angels up by 1. Three-2 Angels, top of the 7th from Anaheim. And Ian Desmond leads it off against Hector Santiago, who's got 7 strikeouts in this game, and strike 1 Desmond. Well, we saw Desmond with really a great play in left field to save that run. And Ken Rosenthal joins us from the field. And Ken, maybe the former shortstop moving to the outfield is a good thing for him.
Kevin, it actually could be liberating, because playing shortstop and having such struggles defensively there, especially last year, really ate Desmond up. His former teammate Rick Ankiel used to tell him, hey, you have to be able to forgive yourself, but Desmond couldn't do that. He said when he would see an E6 go up on the board, it would make his blood boil. So we'll see how this plays out with him now moving to left field.
Well, one thing we know, he's certainly athletic enough to play out there. That is not an issue, but that's an interesting point, how those errors used to kill him. And he watches this one upstairs, 3-1, and you said it, EK, you can't do much better than this.
No, he gets out there, and just to have the confidence to pick it up while it's moving barehanded and get the ball in. As we said, it forced Ron Renicky, the third base coach for the Angels, to hold Cole Calhoun at third.
I mean, to tie up Kenny's report, this is a guy that had 27 errors at shortstop last year, and prior to this year had played a grand total of 7 1/3 innings in the outfield. Not bad for a guy that has played just over 7 innings in the outfield. And now we'll see when the offense comes. 0 for 2 tonight. 3-2 the count to Desmond, leading off in the 7th.
take a look at Ron Renicky right here. He's in a position he's going to want to send him, but the way that Desmond picks that ball up bare hand flawlessly and gets it in, has no choice but to hold him.
And he goes the other way against the shift, and he's got a base hit. So how many times you see that? Make a good defensive play, and you got yourself a knock. That's a good inning for Ian Desmond to lead off the 7th, and he's the tying run for Texas.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say, look at all that open space over there. You see that? And then what does Desmond do? He shoots it over there. You start to see that a lot. You know, the guy makes a great play, and then he comes up and beats the shift.
The interesting query about these shifts, and really the last, I'd say, I don't know what, 3 years, 4 years, we've really seen the shifts escalate, and teams, every team using it, and for the most part using it a decent amount. Mitch Moreland pops one up. Calhoun, the Gold Glover, coming in, can't get there, falls in front, and Desmond flying to third base. And all of a sudden, the Rangers have runners at the corners and nobody out.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about what Ian Desmond, you know, since we're on the Ian Desmond love train right now. Great job of base running. He sees the ball hit. He knows where the outfielders are. He knows that there's no chance Calhoun is going to be able to catch that. Boom, he takes off easily into third base. That's, again, as a base runner, when you're out there, you know where the outfield is. You know where the defense is. Great job of base running.
Now this is interesting. Mike Scioscia has warm-up action in the bullpen. I think Fernando Salas is the guy that's up, and now he's got the lefty Jose Alvarez up too. Reason being, Rougned Odor is 9 of 19 coming in against Hector Santiago with a home run. That's .474 on the average. So this is a dangerous matchup for Santiago and the Angels.
It really is. Even though Odor is 0 for 2, obviously he sees the ball well off of Santiago. In fact, Soch thinks he sees it too well.
There you go. So buying enough time, and now the slow trot out to the mound, and Hector Santiago's day will come to an end. Good effort from Santiago, who really found a groove after that second inning. But now the Rangers with the go-ahead runs on base. Maybe not. Went for the official signal. Remember, now there's that clock. You have 30 seconds to visit the mound, and the clock already down to 2. So this meeting is over. Mike Scioscia has to make a call. And there it is. To the bullpen we go. Santiago's night is over. For every game, visit MLB.com/tickets today. And a reminder that you can also follow live baseball at the MLB.com @bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live game video highlights, StatCast news, and more. Download MLB.com @bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and your tablet. Big spot in this game. Hector Santiago lifted 6+ innings, but he got into trouble allowing back-to-back singles here in the 7th. And so Mike Scioscia goes to the bullpen and brings on the lone lefty in that pen, Jose Alvarez, to face Rougned Odor here in this 7th frame. 3-2 Angels with a 1-run lead. It's Desmond on third and Moreland off of first. Sliders away for ball 1. One thing about Odor, it's pretty similar against lefties and righties. Career .258 against lefties, but he's got 7 home runs against lefty pitchers, so it doesn't totally faze him. But certainly better than the numbers he had against Santiago, who he crushed. And that one will head into the seats.
You see the Angels right now are playing relatively straight up. Escobar over at third base, off the line quite a bit, shaded more towards that 5-6 hole. I mean, if Odor had the ability to bunt one down the third baseline, have a pretty good opportunity of being safe.
1-1. And Odor popped up, and that'll go into the seats as well.
He's got him set up for a breaking ball in the dirt, blowing away right now. Have to have trust in your catcher.
Hector Santiago allowed 4 hits, 6+ innings, struck out 7, walked 2. So far 2 runs, but on the hook for the 2 Rangers on the base pass. One-two. Breaking ball popped him up. Soto plenty of room, and he gets the out. 1 away.
Well, it's a nice job of going after Odor, and Scioscia's happy.
Did the job. So Alvarez, the lone lefty, did his job. Scioscia goes to the pen again. 1 down in the 7th. The FS1 and the heavyweights will rule the octagon as Ben Rothwell takes on former champ Junior Dos Santos. Plus, Gonzaga battles Lewis. It's all Sunday at a special time of 11:30 a.m. Eastern, only on FS1, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. All right, tonight's game summary brought to you by Budweiser. We had a sac fly by Prince Fielder in the first, and then home runs from Chirinos and Escobar, solo shots in the third. But then the Angels coming back and getting the offense going with a couple of runs in the fifth and 3 runs tonight. That's a big plus considering they had won the first 2 games of the year against the Cubs. Associate of the bullpen again, it's Fernando Salas with runners on the corners. He's going to face Elvis Andrus, who's 0 for 4 career against Salas. First pitch swinging and he fouls it off. Desmond singled. Moreland singled and Desmond alertly went to third on the pop fly hit. And then it was Alvarez coming in to retire Odor, and that's where we stand. One thing about Andrus, despite his speed, he grounds into a decent amount of double plays. Hit into 14 of them last year, and the Angels hoping for that. Down low, he went around. 0-2.
Well, you take a look at this pitch right here. Andrus offering at it. Wants to hold but does not. Again, in these situations, trying to keep the ball in the air. As a hitter, you're looking for something up in the zone.
0-2. And he stays alive. Rangers fans wondering when this high-powered offense is going to get going, especially here. Just 192 on the young season with runners in scoring position. 0 for 3 tonight. Like you said, they'll take a sac fly just to tie it in this moment.
Yeah, a lot of swings and misses in the Seattle series. Well, tonight, Santiago really settled down after the second inning.
Salas deals. And Andrus hits one high in the air to right. This should get the job done. Calhoun going to bring it home. Desmond coming home, and this game is tied. So Andrus does the job despite falling behind. A sacrifice fly, and we are tied at 3.
And not a great pitch by Salas. It been working low in the zone. This thing up, out, over the plate. Really the easiest pitch to drive or get in the air as a hitter, especially with runners on. You're not trying to get a hit, waiting for the ball to travel. It's up in the zone. He just pops it out to right field.
Robinson Chirinos the batter. Moreland stays at first base with 2 down. Chirinos has his first home run of the year back in the third. And got a piece. 92 on the fastball from Salas. And it's 0-1. So all of a sudden, all tied up again.
Salas didn't mean to, but he's running that fastball in on Chirinos' hands. Soto had been set up away there. Good opportunity for an off speed down in the dirt. Change the eye level.
Quick look at first base. Salas in his 3rd year with the Angels, spent the 4 before that with the Cardinals at 30 years old, trying to get out of this inning here in the 7th.
You know, for an 0-2 pitch, it's too much of the play, just as the 0-2 pitch he threw to Andrus. Too good. Andrus ended up hitting the sac fly. Again, as a pitcher, you don't want to be obvious and make it a real poor pitch, but getting way too much of the plate.
Jammed him here. You're going to give it a look, and just enough room for Escobar to haul it in. But Rangers tie it up at 3. Stand up and stretch from Anaheim. This year, this is the first one, the slide play. You can't go out of the baseline to get somebody. You can't go past the base. You have to make a real chance to slide and basically go into the bag. Batista, this ended a game. Interference was called. They called a double play because he went past the bag and grabbed Logan Forsythe. Now, this was today, Giants-Dodgers. The neighborhood play is the other thing that's different. This used to be an out all day long, but now it's reviewable. Never used to be reviewable. It is. And as you saw on the slow-mo replay, it was Paddock who came off the bag, and all of a sudden, there was the runner safe. So the game is changing.
Well, our great producer tonight, Brad Zager, stated it best. The unwritten rules of baseball have become the written rules of replay. And you look at both of those plays. One, the Bautista grabbing of the foot. That would have been taken care of in the past. Somebody getting hit. That's the reality, and that's not neither good nor bad. I think the intent of the new rule is to prevent injury. Bautista clearly not going to harm the infielder there. And Panic doing what he's been taught his entire career.
Meanwhile, Kevin Akella is the new pitcher for the Rangers, facing Johnny Giavotella here in the home 7th inning tie game at 3. Here is the rule 6.01. If a runner does not engage in a bona fide slide and initiates contact with the fielder for the purpose of breaking up a double play, called for interference. And yeah, it's reviewable now. The neighborhood play never used to be, and it is. So that's the rule. Giavotella down the third. Oh, Beltre makes the scoop and the throw. That's just ridiculous. One away.
One of the reasons why he is a Hall of Fame third baseman. The reaction time as good as anybody. The arm, excellent as well. But take a look at this in slow motion, although there's nothing slow about this play. Gets up, gathers himself, makes a good strong throw.
He's had a couple gems tonight.
And what we haven't seen is his play on a bunt, coming in and barehanding it as good as anybody that's ever played the game.
One down. Here's Escobar. He's had a good night, a home run and an RBI single and a cut and a miss there. Here's the thing I don't like about the rules we just showed you. Okay, the slide rule, you know, same thing as a Posey rule at home plate. Someone got really hurt, so they change up the rule. But to me, if you're going to institute that rule, then why make the neighborhood play obsolete? Because now these guys have to go and make sure they touch the bag. And I think, you know, put themselves in harm's way. And the other thing, EK, I think, is this. The spirit of replay was never to see if a guy on a neighborhood play was off the bag by a half inch, or if a guy trying to steal second base, at one point his belly button comes off the bag and he's out. But guess what? Pandora's box has been opened, and now that's what you have to deal with. That, I don't think, is really what the goal was here.
No, and I think the initial reason was to get the calls right, obviously. But, you know, some of these rules, the intent is being stretched. And what I mean by that, the intent of that, the play of not the runner not being able to take out the second, is to prevent injury. I get that. You know, but now the neighborhood play, a guy just a little bit off, been taught one way to play for so many years, and now you're asked to change. And again, as you mentioned, the whole neighborhood play is to prevent injury, and isn't that the sole purpose, to prevent injury? So how on one end are you doing the slide, the other end you're saying, well, no neighborhood play?
Well, look at it this way: less than a week of the opening of this season, and already it's a lot of controversy with it. 2-2 to Escobar. Kela down to third. Beltre like a vacuum over there, and there is 2 down. Let's go down to Ken Rosenthal. Ken, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this.
Well, a couple of things, guys. One, remember with the Buster Posey rule and the transfer rule, they were adjusted as time went on, as tweaks needed to be made. And I would not be surprised to see that happen in these cases as well. And you guys are absolutely right about the neighborhood play. It's counterintuitive if you're looking to protect players to have that outlawed. It doesn't make much sense. Now, getting back to the Bautista play, he actually violated 2 rules, and one, Eric, was an old rule, the one that says you can't hinder or impede a player trying to make a play. So he was guilty twice. The second part of how he was guilty, though, the part under the Utley rule, the new rule, that was because he slid past the bag. And in that case, he had already initiated contact before that. Going past the bag had nothing to do with the play. These are the kinds of things they're going to have to look at as time goes on, and again, maybe adjust.
Yeah, that's a good point, Kenny. And by the way, just to wrap it up, the irony of that today, of the panic play, 2 guys standing at home plate watching and waiting for the replay, Chase Utley and Buster Posey. Yeah. So the guys that have changed the rules, we're watching it all unfold. 1-1 to Craig Gentry with 2 down. And a check swing. And that is a strike. Did not see the call there. Quinn Wolcott checked it first but didn't see the call, so it is a strike. So it's 1-2 to Gentry. It's Kela, who has star potential all over him for this Rangers bullpen. And a strikeout of Gentry. So an easy 1-2-3 inning for Kela. A little help from the glove of Beltre. Tied at 3. We head to the 8th. Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you have come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout, other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. So, new pitcher one more time, the 4th of the night for Mike Scioscia. It's Joe Smith, who's turned into a tremendous late-inning reliever for this club.
Yeah, it really has. The setup guy to Houston Street added a changeup. Been throwing it a lot better. A little more to the arsenal. Really a sinker slider type guy.
And a 3-3 game. First meeting of these two rivals this year. Each team trying to get going. Rangers dropped 2 of 3 to Seattle. Angels lost their first series and getting beat up by the Cubs. And so here we are, top of the 8th, top of the order. DeShields facing Joe Smith. It comes at you with that sidearm angle, and he's got strike 1. DeShields 0 for 2, did walk and score in the first inning. And there's that frisbee slider for a strike. Smith is 32 years old, originally a 3rd-round pick by the Mets in 2006 out of Wright State. But already in his 10th year, 3rd with the Angels, spent time with the Indians prior to this. And I think the thing about him that's just nice, he's in the 2nd year of a 3-year deal that's almost $16 million. You know, if you need to, he can close games. He's actually converted 23 of 24 career saves, so valuable.
Getting a little ball. We talk about the changeup that he's added, uses that more for the left-handed hitters, something that would run away from them. Have an opportunity to see that with some of the hitters coming up this inning.
0-2 to DeShields. So take me inside the box against a guy that throws like this. What are the challenges?
So, well, the challenges are you just have to stay inside the ball. You have to think right field. Do not think about pulling the ball if you're a right-handed hitter, because that ball is going to run in on your hands. Sometimes you'll get long with your swing. That's when you get jammed. But if you think the right field, you'll stay inside that fastball coming in, and you'll stay on that slider moving away.
And DeShields down on strikes. So Joe Smith has his first strikeout.
Well, he tries to hold up, and that thing just ties you up. If that pitch starts on the inner part of the plate as a right-handed hitter, you've got to stay off of it, because it's going to end up out of the zone. And if you do hit it, it's going to be all thumbs.
By the way, the line on Hector Santiago is closed. He will get a no decision. 6+ innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 of them earned, 7 strikeouts and 2 walks. So a nice outing from Hector Santiago tonight. Shin-Soo Choo. So let's watch and see if Smith does indeed use that changeup against the lefty and Choo here. One and one. Choo tonight is 1 for 3, singled in his last at bat against Santiago.
Doing a nice job of locating that fastball right now, staying away from Choo. Has him set up for that slider down and in, or can stay away with the fastball. I think I'd move the fastball a little further out right now.
Look at that big shift against Choo.
Nope,
comes in and hits him.
It came in with the off speed, the slider down and in, and he was down and behind. Like it got him on the calf. It's going to leave a mark. You know, that's a frustrating thing if you're Smith. You just threw a couple of fastballs that Choo didn't have very good offers at. Try and get cute. Throw that slider and gets him.
Here's Beltran. 0 for 3 tonight. And he's faced Joe Smith a lot. 3 for 16 against him, so he hasn't had much success. One of those 3 hits was a home run, though. Beltre's made a couple of just sparkling plays in the field tonight.
Again, you got to think that fastball taking it to right center.
1-1.
Which, let me tell you, from the booth is real easy to do.
Aren't you batting 1,000 from up here? Last I checked. There goes the runner, Chu. Big jump and ripped, but foul from Beltre. Chu had that stolen by a mile, but Beltre swinging, and he'll go back to first.
See Chu taking off before Smith has even started his delivery towards home. Beltre enticed by that pitch inside. Great time for a slider low and away right now.
You're Adrian Beltre, a professional hitter. Look at what you're seeing right now. Look at the right side. You talked about going the other way against the side armor, and the other way is wide open.
Again, you know, the shifts are predicated on, you know, a lot of data, a huge sample size, but you know, Beltre purely capable of going the other way. You know, and then what happens when he does make that adjustment?
1-2. Smith brushes him back. 2-2 to Adrian Beltre. Tie game. We're knotted at 3 here in the 8th.
I think he threw that pitch just to set up the slider. Again, that was not anywhere close to a strike. He's gone inside twice.
So check this out in the crowd right now. I don't know if it's, see all those flashes? There must be Beltre, big cut. He fouls it straight back. There must be an app. Bet you there's an Angels app or something, and all the phones are flashing, and stadium wide it looks pretty cool. I wonder if that's distracting at all as a hitter if you see that. There you go. Beltre to right. Calhoun, long run. The Gold Glover can't get there. He ran a long way, and it foul ball.
Well, Smith has gone twice with the slider the last 2 pitches. Gone away. He probably changes now. Goes with that fastball in. And if you're Beltre, you're trying to stay inside the ball, not come around it. Stay inside, think right center.
I'll look over at Chu at first. Good at bat. Good battle here and a big spot in this game with Joe Smith against Adrian Beltre on his 37th birthday. Eighth pitch of the at bat, and he popped him up. Escobar makes the catch, and Smith wins that battle. 2 down. So Beltre with an 0 for tonight. But Smith not out of the woods yet. He's got to face Prince Fielder here. A sac fly his first at bat, couple strikeouts the last 2. We'll look over at Chu. 39,089 tonight in Anaheim. A cool, nice evening for baseball. Angels looking for their first win against a Texas team that started the season at 1-2. Pitch to Fielder is down low.
Seeing the last at bat, Adrian Beltre hit Soto on the wrist on the glove hand. Went back to ask him, okay. Yeah. Appears to be okay.
1-0. That can't feel good. That is not an easy position to play, that's for sure. While Fielder with 5 RBIs on this early season, facing another giant shift from the Angels with Chu. Pretty good speed off first. This one, right as they played it, Simmons will end the inning. So Joe Smith does his job. Tied at 3. Let's head to the bottom of the 8th, shall we? Three Rangers and Angels as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Keone Kela stays on for his 2nd inning of work, and he has got the meat of the order. And here's Mike Trout to lead it off. Strike 1. Kela, a 1-2-3 inning in the 7th. Trout, Pujols, and Crone. A lot of power. Strike 2.
Two great off-speed pitches. Put Trout on the defensive. Already struck out twice tonight. Both times swinging. You can throw anything here.
And Trout rips one. It's a leadoff base hit. 0-2, and he's got himself a single. That looks like Keone Kela's night might be over. He got ahead of Trout 0-2, and then Trout laced one for a base hit. And with Pujols coming up, let's see what Jeff Bannister does. He's taking a slow walk, and considering you now have the 30-second clock, which is already at 15, I'm guessing he's going to make a switch. Sam Dyson has been warm in the bullpen. Andrew Faulkner, the lefty, has also been warming up, but I don't think you're bringing in a lefty here.
No, Faulkner ready for Cole Calhoun.
Yeah, Dyson, the sinker baller. Pitching change for the Rangers with Pujols coming up. Angels and Rangers with Mike Trout on first and Albert Pujols coming up, and this is coming up Saturday on FS1 with a 3:30 Eastern time start. Dodgers, Giants, and oh yeah, Clayton Kershaw and Madison Bumgarner. That is pretty good. And so is this right here. Pujols at the plate. Sam Dyson, the sinker baller, and love to get a ground ball here. Trout gonna steal, and Pujols bounces one a mile high against the ship, and there is no play. That was an AstroTurf bounce if I ever saw one, and it's first and second, and nobody out.
That's interesting. I wonder if that was a hit and run. I mean, it had to be a hit and run, didn't it? I mean, was that
Yeah.
type of swing with Pujols, Trout going? I mean, just a great job. And my guess is Pujols probably put that on.
Just because of the shift?
I'm guessing that he probably talked to Mike Trout. Hey, if something goes on, they put that play on themselves.
Pujols was motoring down the line, too.
Well, I don't know motoring. I would say just running as fast as he can run.
Well, with quotations around the motoring. So here we go. C.J. Cron. Go ahead run on second with Mike Trout. There's a strike. So Dyson technically got the ground ball. It just happened to bounce 50 feet in the air. Here's Cron 0 for 3 tonight. Guy with big power, but the Angels will take a single.
You just got to stay out of the double play.
And that's one thing he gets a lot of, Dyson.
Well, and as a hitter right now, until you get 2 strikes, you have to look for something up. Something up. You're trying to look to the right center field part of the park. Means you let the ball travel on you. Get deep into the zone.
It'll be a 1-1. Tapper, this is a tough play. Dyson lets it go. Beltre's got no play. How about the last two hits? One bounced 50 feet in the air, the other one went 50 feet. Bases loaded, nobody out.
Well, if you're the Texas Rangers right now, you're thinking, come on, Trout, you had 0-2, gives up the base hit. Albert Pujols puts on the hit and run himself, swings at the first pitch, a high chopper, and then this. The full swinging bunt. Just can't defend that.
So now it'll be Cole Calhoun, and the Rangers have to play this in here in the 8th inning. 1 for 2 is Calhoun with a walk and a run scored. Infield is in. Strike one. 98.
Yeah, 98 with some movement. The thing ran back over the plate. Started off inside.
There's Trout off of third. The go-ahead run. Oh, and 2.
Really tough for the left-handed hitter right now against Dyson, because as I mentioned, not only is this 97, 98 miles an hour, but it's got movement too. Starts about at Calhoun's hip and then ends up over the inner half of the plate.
Oh, and 2. Calhoun stays alive. The thing about Dyson, not only does he throw that hard cheddar in the upper 90s, but he gets 69% ground balls because of the hard sinker that he throws. It is tough to get a sac fly off this guy. Calhoun just gets enough.
Well, you're not getting picky right now if you're Calhoun. You just want contact. Ground, up in the air, whatever.
Trout got this going with a 2-strike single. He's on third. 0-2 to Cole Calhoun. It rips foul. The infield from Jeff Bannister's got to be in, and they are. But Dyson would love a strikeout.
And remember, you've got the speedy Trout at third base. So the infield's going to have to be quick.
And he got him. That's a huge out, because now with Dyson's sinker, you can move back and set up for a double play.
Off speed in the dirt. Chirino's doing a nice job of keeping the ball out in front. Again, when he's throwing 97, 98 miles an hour, the hitter will tend to cheat a little bit. Set up nicely for that off speed in the dirt.
And you see that's exactly what Jeff Bannister's going to do. He's going to set up for a double play now and hope that his guy can get those ground balls. Here's Andrelton Simmons. He got his first hit as an Angel, his last at bat. He'd like to put a stamp on his young Angels career here. Bases loaded, 1 down. First pitch swinging and bullet, but foul. Simmons with a double his last at bat. through the shadows. Dyson takes a breath. 0-1 on the way. Simmons tomahawks one to third. Beltre starts the turn. It's a double play. Sam Dyson gets out of a bases loaded, nobody out jam, and we are tied at 3. Wow, what a job. Dyson, bases loaded, nobody out, and then he gets the double play. Beltre to Odor on to first. I mean, that is unbelievable by Dyson, and the Rangers ecstatic. And Adrian Beltre has been in the middle of it all night. Our Grip the Moment, sponsored by Falcon Tires, official tire of Major League Baseball. Guy has made a couple of great plays, and then smooth as always on that 5-4-3 double play.
And one of the best that's ever played the game over at third base. Defensively is good at hands, great arm, makes the bunt play as well as anybody I've ever seen.
Let me ask you a question. So if you're Jeff Bannister, just the luxury, after the big at bat was Calhoun when he got him to strike out, how much of a luxury is it to then be able to drop your infield defense knowing that you have a relatively good chance to get a ground ball with Dyson?
Pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
I think the luxury is bringing in Dyson throwing 98 miles an hour.
He is nasty. So it's Houston Street on for the 9th, and we stay tied at 3. And Desmond, first pitch hacking, and it's a foul ball. So Houston Street, Angels closer in to work. 5th pitcher of the night for Mike Sosa. Joe Smith did his job, 1 inning. No hits and a man left on, and so here is Street. A 3-3 game in the 9th. Desmond has made his mark in this game, and a nice play in the outfield, and then singled and scored the game tying run in the 7th. Down to third here. Escobar, one away. That'll bring up Mitch Moreland, 1 for 3 tonight. A single and 2 strikeouts. Moreland has faced Street just twice, 1 for 2 in his career, and he takes outside for ball 1. A pretty good game with the opener of this series. These teams very familiar with each other. Actually, the Angels have really dominated this series, 26-12 against the Rangers the last 2 years. Despite the fact that the Rangers were the better team. They won the division last year. It's kind of crazy. The Angels, they're on the verge of being eliminated, and then the Saturday in Arlington, they score 5 in the 9th inning, stay alive. Tapped right into the shift. There is Escobar, 2 down. Score at 5-3 if you're up and scoring at home. And then the Angels went to Sunday. They needed a win to force a play-in game with the Astros, but the Rangers won that game, won the division. And Texas took a 2-0 lead over the Blue Jays in the ALDS, and then Toronto came storming back. Rougned Odor now 0 for 3 tonight. Another big shift for Mike Scioscia.
Again, we've had 2 putouts this inning, both by Yunel Escobar. One of them, though, he was 5 feet away from third base, and the last time he's playing where he is now, that rover position out in right.
And Odor tries to send one to the gap, but Gentry, good speed out there, got there easily. 1-2-3 for Houston Street. Angels try to win it. We come back. Very good at this exact thing last year. 23 wins in their last at bat, tied for the best in the league with the Cubs. A real big reason why they were in that playoff race until the end. And so here we go to the 9th. Sam Dyson remains in the game. The catcher spot, Giovanni Soto due up, and instead Mike Scioscia going to go to his bench. He's going to bring in Ji-Man Choi, the 24-year-old Rule 5 draft pick from the Orioles, and this is his major league debut right here at the plate. He came in the field the other night and played left field. Now, this is his first plate appearance in the bigs, and quite the big spot against Sam Dyson, who just got out of that bases loaded jam. It's outside for ball 1. Choi is patient. That's been his MO. In the minors, he had a non-base percentage of 40% 5 years in the minor leagues with the Mariners. And they went to the Orioles, was there for about a month before let loose in the Rule 5 draft. Down low, ball 2.
He's got him into a hitter's count. He's looking for one spot right now.
Choi, hard chopper Odor puts him away. 1 down.
Well, not what he wanted as a hitter. 2-0 count right there. You're in a position where you can pick and choose. Dyson got that ball in on him a bit.
Johnny Giavotella try his hand now. 0 for 3 tonight. And it's 1-0 to Giavotella.
Really interesting to me on the defensive side right now at the Rangers. Beltre at third base right on the line. Moreland over at first, way off of the line. As hard as Dyson throws, Giavotella shoot one down that right field line.
Two and 0.
All right, another Angel hitter finds himself in a favorable 2-0 count. Watch Troy get jammed a bit. If you're Giavotella, you're cheating a little bit, looking to drive something to a gap.
There's a strike. As far as the Angels offense go, they had 7 total hits in 2 days against the Cubs. They've got 9 hits tonight, which would look a lot better if they found a way to score last inning with the bases loaded and no one out. 2-1. And Giavotella delivers. He takes a big turn around first base, but he will go back, and so a 1-out single for Giavotella, and that'll bring up Escobar at the top of the order.
Nice job of waiting for a pitch, drives it to left center. And again, Ian Desmond does a nice job of hustling over there, cutting that ball off and getting it in. You can see why the Rangers are so comfortable with him in the outfield. Looks like he's been there for many years.
Yeah, he looks good out there tonight, and he really has in the spring too. So Giavotella on first base. Escobar, who's got 2 hits tonight, 2 RBIs, including a home run, his first of the year. First of the year for the Angels too. Down low. Giavotella is not a base stealing threat. He only stole 2 out of 3 last year. It's interesting, after that ball, the shift changes a little bit. They move Odor from behind the bag back almost near his normal position. What could change after 1 ball? Interesting.
I think now maybe it's the pitch selection. Fastball coming here.
Indeed, only 97. I'm trying to think how the Rangers pried this guy away from the Marlins, because we saw it in the postseason, we saw it in the second half. But he still has work to do, does Dyson here. Escobar has been a tough out tonight.
Third 2-0 count of the inning for Angel hitters.
Make it 3-0.
Well, interesting, because Dyson again came in and did a great job in that 8th inning, escaping with bases loaded jam, nobody out. But this inning has not been able to find the plate. All 3 Angels hitters have had favorable counts, 2-0, 2-0, and now Escobar at 3-0.
Escobar takes it upstairs. It's ball 4. And so Dyson has runners on first and second with a winning run on second in the form of Giavotella. And we're going to have a pinch hitter here for Gentry. I think Daniel Nava is going to come up. Gentry tonight delivered with an RBI double, so he did his part. But here's Nava. He and Gentry in that left field platoon. Nava is a switch hitter, which he actually abandoned for a while. But he's here to bat lefty against the righty Dyson and try and win this game, or maybe not. Dyson looks like his time has come. And Jeff Bannister is going to go to the lefty, Andrew Faulkner. Pitching change. Angels trying to win it in the ninth. Coming up after this game, Chris Myers, C.J. Nitkowski, Frank Thomas on the end, as those guys are getting ready to bring you all the action from today, highlights of this one as well. And the Angels trying to get to that show soon. Andrew Faulkner is the new pitcher. So here's the deal. We're tied at 3 in the ninth. Faulkner in. Mike Scioscia had Daniel Nava up to pinch hit for Gentry. He was announced, but now he's changing that plan and going to the righty, Carlos Perez. Giovanella, the winning run on second. And so here is Perez. Tapper, left side. There's Beltre. And he makes the play for the second out, and both runners advance. Well, that sets up nicely for some drama, because here comes Mike Trout.
I don't even mess around. I just walk him and I pitch to Pujols. And not any disrespect to Pujols, but I just load the bases. Force it any out.
Oh, for sure. And already you see.
There we go. Yep.
Robinson Chirino says, yep. Good call, EK. Well, that's the nice thing about having Pujols back you up. Boy, gotta be careful there.
Hey, what, Faulkner, no messing around on these pitch outs right here.
He's throwing bullets. Well, I guess you'd rather see that. Some guys, when they have to lob it, kind of goose it, and then you get a little worried. So
yeah, but this is letting it go and with some movement too. Man. All right, here we go. That's what we've been waiting for here. Pujols up with the bases loaded.
Faulkner going to stay in for Pujols. Tollison, right? You would think. Yep. think he's going to go to the closer here, but we'll see. That would seem to be the move. Yep. Tollefson going to come in. Bases loaded for the Angels. They're trying to win it. It's Albert Pujols. We come back. Anaheim, bases loaded. That happened in the last inning with nobody out, and the Angels didn't score. Here, though, Rangers go to their closer, Sean Tollefson, who comes off a performance he'd like to forget yesterday. He didn't retire a single batter, allowed a home run to Robinson Cano. So he had a great outing on opening day. Got shelled yesterday, and here you go, bases loaded. Here's Albert Pujols with 2 outs in the game on the line and the 9th.
And Tollefson throwing in his 3rd game already in this young season. Again, remember down the stretch last year when used so often he faltered.
Ball 1.
I get the idea of trying to run him right back out there, get his confidence. I'm not sure I run him out there 3 out of 4 days. Not early on.
Pujols rips one deep left field, and this one is over. Angels win it. Time in Albert Pujols' great career that he has delivered a walk-off winner. And so after the Angels squandered a bases-loaded opportunity the inning before, they get one here. The Rangers bring in their closer, and Pujols hits a rocket, and this one's over.
And not very often you're going to intentionally walk a hitter to get to Albert Pujols. He gets a pitch up in the zone. He drives it to the alley. Game over. Angels win.
Hasn't been a good day for Tollefson, and Pujols jubilant with Mike Trout. The Angels, after a rough 2 games against the Cubs, they saw some positives tonight And just like they did 23 times last year, the most in the major leagues, they win it in their final at bat. Down to the field, Ken Rosenthal is with the hero.
Thanks, Kevin. First of all, Albert, what happened to your jersey?
I think C.J. Wilson, one of the guys, I don't know, but that's the thing that we've been doing for the last couple of years here, and it was just a exciting moment.
2 outs, bases loaded, bottom of the ninth. Tollison's in the game. What was your approach against him?
Just get something up to hit, and try to put in my best swing. So I just thank God, that I put the best swing on the night, and we end up winning the game. So.
Inning before, bases loaded, none out. Some crazy things happened to get to that point. How frustrated were you guys after you did not score?
Hey, it's part of the game, you can't get frustrated in those situations. I take call anytime in those situations, with bases loaded and no out. So it just didn't work for us tonight. We have a long season. So I just want to thank the fans, too, for supporting us and stay here, and watch this game. So,
Albert, last question. Hector Santiago tonight. What did you see from him? What made him so good?
He threw the ball well. He kept the ball down. He obviously made a couple of mistakes, but that's what he's been doing all spring. And then if you look at his last outing against the Dodgers, he threw the ball pretty well, and he just took that into the season. So unfortunately, he didn't get the win tonight. But as a team, we take the win. That's the most important thing.
Albert, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Kevin, back to you.
All right, Kenny, thanks very much. So the Angels with a walk-off winner, 4-3 in the bottom of the ninth. And the prevailing moment of the game, sponsored by the Hartford, and there it is. Albert Pujols delivering off Sean Tollison a rope to left field, left center, and that brings home Johnny Giavotella. And the Angels get a win. Hard-fought game against the Rangers, but it's 4-3. Angels take this series opener tonight. Ken Rosenthal, Eric Karros, our entire crew. I'm Kevin Burkhardt. The whip around with Chris Myers and C.J. Dukowski and Frank Thomas right now.